This is the world-famous Super League, and these are the Sheffield Eagles.
Solved it. Come on, let's get the other lads, come on. From 90-degree heat in Paris to a very cold, bleak evening in Sheffield, Hunter Mariners have certainly acquitted themselves pretty well to the European conditions. 2 wins out of 2 against Sheffield Eagles, the only 100% side in the European Super League in the World Club Championship. Should be an intriguing clash. They were expecting a much bigger crowd until the awful weather set in, and they'll be buoyed by a tremendous start as there's an immediate turnover in possession. Paul Broadbent trying to make some ground. Johnny Lawless at dummy half. Steve Edmed getting involved. Well hauled down though. Johnny Lawless looked for support, there wasn't any, and he went alone. Mark Aston trying to direct things. Broadbent on the inside. A dummy runner went without the ball just behind him. Lawless has been heavily involved already. Vasilakopoulos given a chance after a substitute in the game against Perth. In for the injured Martin Wood. Now Aston with a little dinky kick over the top, but it's well gathered in by Craig Wise. So much expectation now. Sheffield have won their first game, but John Keir has set out his stall. He's going to rotate the replacements as often as possible, keeping them all fresh, and it's a tactic that worked certainly particularly well in the second half against Perth last week. Of course, tackling helps, and so far Sheffield have restricted Hunter to only a short meterage. The kick, though, was a good one. Linton Stott happy to see it out. A good early kick from Hunter, and forcing Sheffield deep into their own territory. Sheffield put in though, and Aston does just that. Nick Pinkney with a little drive up the middle, not afraid to take on the workload, the former Keighley man. Now he looked to lose that, and that is indeed the verdict. And particularly frustrating for Taiwa. John Keir was saying that the Gilbert balls are particularly slippy to control in the wet, and maybe that was the excuse that Taiwa will perhaps be explaining if this should lead to the opening score. And again, there's another example. It's like a piece of wet soap. It is going to be a factor tonight, no question about it. And on this occasion, the man spilling it was Robbie McCormack. So both sides guilty of early handling errors, and I suspect that might be the menu for the evening. Handling errors will be thick and fast, I should imagine. Keith Senior trying to find a way through the yellow and blue defensive line. Stott entering the line, and again another handling error, this time perhaps forced through the tackle, but still the ball is proving elusive to grasp onto. Now, has he carried over the line? Not quite, John Carlaw. Tony Iro trying to force his way through with Paul Broadbent sticking close. McCormack at dummy half, brings in Goldthorpe. Along the line to Kimorley, it's a good move. Oh, and again, just as you thought a try might be on the way, the ball spills out. And I think on this occasion it was Neil Pincinelli who was the guilty man. Well, that's 3 handling errors and we're barely 4 minutes old. Lawless, Broadbent, always willing, always wanting to take the ball up, and warmly applauded for getting himself extra meterage with the legs pumping away. Aston's gone for a kick early in the count, and it's forced the fullback around, and he's found touch with it. Robbie Ross thought about going in together, but it's skidded off the turf. A decent atmosphere here at Don Valley. Well played by Mark Aston, and again, but good feet by Brett Kimorley. Even on a slippy top, he sidestepped his way clear of trouble. And this time Kevin Iro not able to hang on. It wasn't the best pass, to be fair to the big man. And Sheffield can go underway with Nick Pinkney. Here's Linton Stott in the line. 4 Hunter players descend upon him. Paul Carr, the runner. Lawless again operating well with Aston. Brings in Broadbent. Not too much in the way of advantage gain there. Aston. The referee saying that the Hunter side, I thought he'd given the offside. It was actually a forward pass that he gave in the end. Seemed to be directing his comments towards the Hunter Mariner defence at first. Ross. Well brought down. Kimorley. Craig Wise well wrapped up. Tony Brandt doing his best. And Darian Doherty doing his as well, and they're making good ground at the moment. Working the ball out to the left, the Iro brothers combining. Kevin, the last man. Tony at dummy half. Good pressure on the kicker. And gathered in, albeit at the second attempt, by Willie Morganson. And that ball really is proving to be a very difficult thing to hang on to. John Keir tipped me the wink before the match that he felt that there would be a lot of handling errors, that the grip on the Gilbert balls are not quite the same as that of 1 or 2 others, particularly in these conditions. Broadbent. How many times has he already tucked the ball up the jumper in the Sheffield Eagles course? Aston. Another good searching kick from him. Again, it finds touch. And again, Robbie Ross took no chances. Good encouraging start from Mark Aston. So no Goldthorpe getting us underway, putting the ball in the scrum, running around the back, feeding Robbie Ross. Here's Tony Iro. Sold the dummy. No Sheffield men were buying. Hello. 0-0. No points. All right. 8. All right then. Ta-da. Again, good Sheffield tackling. That seems to be the key, and those sides who have done better than others have been the ones who've been able to tackle for the full 80 minutes. Desperate attempt to keep the ball alive fails. And the Sheffield Eagles defence is tested and passing the examination. It was on the last, and Sheffield get us underway with a drive up the middle by Senior. Vasilakopoulos. Impressive, the man on loan from Leeds in the game against Perth, and getting his chance instead of Martin Wood. Edmet. Aston. Broadbent leaving it, and ploughing at the middle instead was McAllister. Aston again kicking early in the count, and it seems to have been a good tactic so far, and once again it's proving to be a good weapon. Mark Aston's really played well. He must have had 3 or 4 kicks in general play so far, and all of them have found touch, and all of them have had fullback Robbie Ross turning round and watching it drift out of play. That's an encouraging sign, I think. Such a pivotal role, Mark Aston, in the Sheffield side, the tactician. Cries of forward. The touch judge on this near side was, to say the least, disdainful of the crowd's reaction. Didn't look forward to me. But passions are running high after that victory over Perth. Tony Iro at dummy half, decides to go alone, sells the dummy to his brother, and Craig Wise is all wrapped up. Now Goldthorpe, that's going to be a real tester. Allowed to bounce, and Hunter keeping it alive on the last. The angle kick gathered in by Linton Stott, who's just about got away from the in-goal area, and only just. Jean-Marc Garcia all wrapped up as he attempted to break the shackles. Keith Senior doing his best. Crowd weren't too happy with that challenge. The way that Darian Doherty crashed Keith Senior to the turf. Referee quite happy though. And again an early kick from Aston. It's clearly the tactic. And again, his kicking boots have not deserted him. Clearly John Keir has adopted an early kick in the tackle count, and so far it's been an excellent tactic. And who would doubt John Keir's ability as a tactician after the way he masterminded the Perth victory? Such euphoric scenes here at the Don Valley. Nearly spilled out of the reach of Brett Kimorley, but he held on. Kevin Iro. Good strong run, typical of him. He's finding his way through the tackles, and he's managed to get the ball away to Robbie Ross, and Robbie Ross will go underneath the posts. And that really is a superb try from Hunter. And if Robbie Ross gets the plaudits for putting the ball down, Kevin Iro must get the plaudits for setting it all up. I can't imagine this will prove too difficult for Noel Goldthorpe. And it doesn't. And it's 6-0.
And the conversion from number 7, Noel Goldthorpe.
Well, not the start that Sheffield would have concocted in their minds, but they were well adrift of Perth, of course, and came back to win so dramatically. And it's early days. Well gathered in by Broadbent, who's happy to take the ball up himself, as you would expect. Senior. Sheffield needn't change their style or their game plan too greatly just because they've conceded. They've played particularly well in the opening encounters, and just an excellent bit of play by Kevin Iro. Broke their defences down. And Kevin Iro, as we know only too well here in Britain, can be devastating on his day. Another excellent kick by Mark Aston, going the other way this time. But Robbie Ross is now getting wise to the early kick, and he took that in well. John Carlaw adding extra yards, taking it up to just on halfway. Keith Beecham wrapped up. Cormac, Goldthorpe, good pass, Brett Kimorley, good skills by Kimorley, and just inside of him to score the tries, Darian Doherty. And Doherty, to say the least, couldn't miss. Huge gap to run into, and he took it through and planted it down. Well, once again, it's a run-of-the-mill kick for Goldthorpe. Practically the same position as last time, and surely the same result. So 12-0. And Goldthorpe will, to say the least, be delighted if all he has to do is smack them over from right in front of the posts.
From number 7, Noel Goldthorpe.
Well, I'll say it again. They were further than this behind. Perth came back and won. I hardly think it's a tactic worth employing to give the opposition a lead and then see how you get on, but maybe the second half specialists can come up with something. They've still got over 20 minutes in the first. The rain is relentless, and maybe at the end of a long 3-week spell over in Europe after a bruising few games in the Australasian Super League, maybe Hunter could tire in energy-sapping conditions here at the Don Valley. Aston trying to weave his way through, still kicking. This time it was on the last. And he got his kick away expertly again. Ross feeding Carlaw. Good tackling, good chasing on the Aston kick then. Good tackling this time by Taiwa. Kevin Iro, who has already showed Exactly why the likes of Leeds and Wigan rated him so highly. Russell Smith called held, and Tony Iro spills the ball.
The substitution for the Eagles going up number 16, Danny McAllister, coming up 8, Wayne Flynn.
Sheffield scrum. Head and feed, of course, after the spillage by Tony Iro. Keith Senior happy to take the ball up. Now Taiwo doing the same. Didn't gain too much and was well held by McCormack. Stopped, wriggling his way free. Tony Iro then hauling him to the ground. Edmet did well. Tried to release Morganson and he couldn't hold on to it, and Mariners have the ball. Kimorley feeding Doherty, as he did for the try just a few minutes ago. McCormack in at dummy half. Tony Iro in the line. Goldthorpe, real big hit on John Mark Garcia from the stocky little halfback. Tony Brann adding extra meters to the move. Goldthorpe again, just about held on to by Brett Kimorley. This is a good build-up from Hunter, and it comes to an end there. Hello. Okay, Sheffield 0, Hunter 12. Say that one more time. No, it's 20 minutes gone. 12-0 to Hunter. Okay. Edmet, after the penalty award, which Aston added extra meterage with a good angle kick. Broadbent. Appeared to be held a little bit too long there, and the referee agrees. Interference. And it'll be a kick at goal by Mark Aston. Don't think Russell Smith had too much of a problem in giving that penalty. Broadbent was trying to get himself out of the clutches of the Hunter Mariner defence and was felled a couple of times as he tried to get to his feet. So about 28 metres away and pretty well straight on. Should be regulation stuff for Mark Aston and should put Sheffield on the board. It does. Well, Mark Aston is already emerging as one of the Sheffield men of the match, and we've got plenty of time to go yet. But his kicking has been excellent in general play, and his kick was accurate from the penalty. Always makes a team feel a whole lot better when they get on the scoreboard, and it makes them feel even better when the opposition spill possession. 20 metres from the Hunter line. 5 more tackles. Lawless trying to run down the short side. Good meters gained. Listen to the crowd. Broadbent well held up. Plenty of time, plenty of tackles still to go. Oh, what a time to spill it. There I was saying that Mark Aston was a potential man of the match, and he makes an unforced error. Just slipping out of his grasp. The referee not too pleased with the little altercation between he and McCormack. And what a disappointing end The momentum just seemed to be going the way of Sheffield for a moment there. But Aston couldn't hang on, unfortunately. This slippy ball. Kevin Iro has already showed his worth down the left side before, and they'll do well to wrap him up much earlier this time, which they did. Willie poaching. Caught a little bit of a high one, and it'll be a Hunter Mariners penalty. Goldthorpe crossing halfway with a kick, and McCormack in a hurry to take the drive on. Tony Brown. Good drive from him. McCormack again in at dummy half, inviting the runner. Tony Iro. Oh, great skill by Iro, but a good tackle. An effective one too by Senior. Kimorley. Now Goldthorpe. Now Ross. There was an overlap, it appeared, for a second, but the sliding defence closed in the gap. Ross in the line, and sliding into the corner is Beecham, and the try's awarded. Well, it was a typical predatory wingers try, sneaking in at the end of the line and diving right into the corner. And it's bleak viewing the scoreboard, 2-16.
Change after the kick goal. Change after.
I say bleak, of course, our Australian friends won't think so. A perfect start from Hunter Mariners. Bit more of a tricky challenge now for Noel Goldthorpe to remain at 100% for the kicking this evening. Couldn't really be further away. It's not a bad effort, just going by the knee far side upright as we look at it, and it remains 16-2.
Come on, Sheffield, let's hear it for the Eagles.
And again, Hunter have capitalised on a penalty awarded their way. If only Sheffield could have done the same a couple of plays earlier. They were inside the last 10 metres, deep in the red zone, and threatening before, sadly, Mark Aston spilled the ball. And from that, some dozen or so tackles later, Hunter extended the lead. And if there's one thing that the British sides and the European sides will have learned during this 2 or 3 weeks or so, it's that the Australians know how to take advantage of mistakes and will punish you heavily. If anything, the European sides will have learnt how important the tackles are, how important the errors are, and how important it is to take your opportunities when they present themselves. And Sheffield have an opportunity now. Broadbent already emerging as the chief meter gainer, which is pretty typical of the way he addresses himself in the Sheffield Eagles course.
Come on, let's hear it for the Eagles.
Trying to swing the ball out wide. It went backwards, so play on for Taiwa. Edmet barging his way through. Last tackle. Aston hits the high one. That's a teaser. Hasn't been gathered in. And Hunter, though, will come away with it. And Sheffield then have the ball. Attempted to stop himself going into touch. And maybe John Carlaw might have been better off doing that. Stott. Lawless at dummy half, going himself, went for the gap. Held up by McCormack. Sheffield need to score. What a chance they have. Need to restore their belief that they can win this contest. Edmed. Good play by the big Australian. Now Broadbent, it's the last. Aston, darting run, well held. And in the end, in a desperate attempt to get it away, substitute Wayne Flynn could only give possession back to Hunter. But again, there are encouraging signs that they're a way through this defiant Mariners defence. Sheffield knocking on the door, no question about it. That first try, for the moment, eluding them. Now here's Kevin Iro, this time popping up on the right. Still he's eluding the tacklers, and he's finally wrapped up by a combination of Garcia and Lawless. Early kick by McCormack. Hello. Sheffield Eagles 2, Hunter Mariners 16. 1-6, yeah. Yeah, about that. Okay. Okay, understood. Okay, mate. What's the score?
Come on, Sheffield, let's hear it for the Eagles.
Okay, mate. See you later. The penalty awarded in the favour of the home side, much to the delight of the home support. Can they take advantage of this one? Edmed. Broadbent, inevitably. Does well to get the pass away in the tackle. Lawless helping it on. Stott trying to turn away from trouble. All wrapped up though. Lawless now. He's looked impressive in the opening exchanges, and that would have been forward anyway, even if Jean-Marc Garcia could have gathered it in. So head and feed to Hunter. Just over their own 30-metre line. Referee not happy. Asking Goldthorpe to put it in once more, which he does. Similar result, of course. Taken up by Wise toward the halfway. Goldthorpe, not the best pass, but Kevin Iro took it in brilliantly. Beecham, who's already got himself one score already this evening. Piccinelli, then taken up by poaching. Tony Iro. Kimorley, lovely pass. Out the back door by Ross. Kept alive by Wise. Good tackling back by Flynn. 15 metres out. Now much less. Helped on by Iro. Tony, the variety. Piccinelli with a kick on. And it was far too strong. Lawless again. Directing proceedings. Offering Carr the chance. Now, who does Lawless choose this time? Lawless lost it. Beecham comes up with it. McCormack, Tony Iro, Kimorley. Lovely pass inside to Wise. Good defence though. Keith Senior with a telling final tackle. Now Bran, held up by Broadbent. McCormack at dummy half, Tony Iro on the inside, little reverse ball. And finally Piccinelli, held up. McCormack brings in the runner, who on this occasion is Troy Stone. Last tackle. Goldthorpe loses it as he thought about kicking, and they'll play the knock-on. In fact, it was on the last, of course, so it'll just be a turnover. Nick Pinkney, haven't seen too much from him so far, can be a match winner on his day. And maybe, as indeed against Perth, we'll see the best of him in the second half. Aston did well to hang on to that, and did even better to add extra metres. Tried to bring the ball away, and the referees waved play on. It was hardly the most tidy of play the balls you've seen, and particularly with the way that referees are stamping down on it, you felt that a whistle might be blown, but it was on the last, and the referees waved play on. Kevin Iro seems to be popping up everywhere at the moment, both on the left and the right. Here's Poaching. Good strong run. Substitute Troy Stone, finding his way towards the red zone. Goldthorpe, Tony Iro, just about held on. Did Tony Bram. Nice angled kick. Oh, it was spilled, and did he get it down? No try, says the referee. It'll be a dropout. It looked as though it was Kimorley who was the closest, and because it was on the last, it'll be a turnover on the 20. Aston's lost it in the tackle, and there's a little stop in play. I think it's Keith Senior who's struggling. Good darting run by Poaching, and he's going all the way into the corner, and that is a fabulous score. Came out of the scrum base, did Poaching, saw daylight, went for it, had the speed, and skidded over the turf for a brilliant try, and it's 22.
Trying for the Mariners from number 15, Willie Poaching.
Goldthorpe misses, drifting it to the left of the uprights. Never really looked set for that one, did he?
Could Kevin Kraft from FH Brown come down pitch side, please? Kevin Kraft from FH Brown.
Time running out at the end of the first half. Is there enough for Sheffield to put a bit more respectability on the half-time scoreline? Lawless. Good scuttling run by Ricky Wright. Little kick on by Vasilakopoulos, and it's too strong.
We have the Sheffield Eagles coming up for you at half-time. Also the chance to get your hands on some Backstreet Boys tickets for tomorrow night's concert at the Sheffield Arena. Also we'll be doing the kangaroo race as well, if anybody fancies taking part in that.
Well, Sheffield, I'm sure, will be recounting how they came back to beat Perth in their first World Club Championship match. Can they do the same today? It was practically the same scoreline against Perth Western Reds, and they came back to win it, but they've already started in pretty depressing fashion. Paul Broadbent did his best to keep that kick in play, but he couldn't, and it'll be a Mark Aston drop out from under the posts. So hardly the greatest opening. They've wasted the opportunity of having first possession. Doubts John Keir will be too thrilled with that as an opening in terms of the way the second half may or may not pan out. But an early mistake from Hunter will mean that Sheffield will get the put in, the head and feed, and hopefully therefore possession. So only a minor blip as far as Sheffield are concerned. Well, the feet went under him there, Keith Senior. I'm sure that during a hot summer that they were perhaps expecting, conditions like this were furthest from the mind. Everyone talks about summer rugby and the hot weather, and here we are, it's Midsummer's Day tomorrow, and it looks more like December. And another error, probably due to the conditions. It is, of course, the Australian winter when Hunter go back home, and they will have played in almost identical conditions to this many a time in the Sydney area, I'm sure. They get their fair share of rain in June and July. In fact, the Auckland Warriors camp were telling me that this kind of weather is perhaps warmer than they expect in Auckland. New Zealand, of course. Here's Poaching, who scored a superb try to end the Hunter Mariners' domination in the first half. Excellent dart away from the scrum base, and Sheffield had no answer. That was an ugly play of the ball, and surely they'll be penalised. They are. Referee Russell Smith was a yard, maybe less, from the incident, and it'll be a penalty which Mark Aston will dispatch. Asking for a replacement ball, and Mark Aston is granted one. And a good angled kick, searching just in front of the 40-metre line. Now here's Broadbent, starting in a similar vein to which he ended the first half, adding valuable metres up the middle. And that's a high tackle, penalised, and another penalty, and this is a promising start for Sheffield in this second half. If they were to get a try in these opening exchanges, I bet you it won't be the last of them for them. So much to do with confidence, the game of rugby league, and momentum and belief. And that went backwards, but it was pounced on anyway. And there I was talking about self-belief, and Tony Brand comes up with the ball for Hunter, who will have plenty of self-belief, having dispatched Paris, I beg your pardon, and previously Castleford. But they've turned possession over once again, unable to retain the ball as it popped out. Morganson trying to dart away through the challenges. Now Lawless looked for support, didn't get it, and went alone. And he's forced backwards by some tenacious battling from Tony Brand. Here's Broadbent. Can he make more? He can. Offloads well into the arms of Ricky Wright. Vasilakopoulos into Aston. Lovely little run around there. Didn't quite come off. Hunter. Oh, well, that was interference, surely. And a little bit of mouthing as well, and they're going right back to the line, and there's 6 for Sheffield to make inroads. Well, they're going to kick, are they? Well, they're going for safety first. I think the crowd were in the same view as I, that they perhaps, with a scoreline of 18 points adrift, may take the 6 tackles from the line and have a go for the full 6 points. But the trusty Aston boot will at least put them 16 adrift. Which he does.
And the penalty from number 7, Mark Aston, sponsored by Hanrahan's.
Well, they've started brightly in the second half. The penalty count very much in their favour, and they have another score on the board. Aston's kick was really difficult and awkward, and Willie Poaching couldn't gather it. And I can't say I blame him either. Good charging run from Wise. Taken on further by Stone. Tony Iro. Good dummy. Got him almost up to halfway. Stone again. He does get to halfway, but is pushed backwards by some excellent tackling from Messrs Wright and Broadbent. And the angle kick by Goldthorpe. Won't quite find touch. Gathered in by Linton Stott. Urged on by the crowd to attack. Makes his way to about 15 metres. Jean-Marc Garcia. Not much there for him. Lawless brings in Taiwa. Brushes off a couple of tackles. Lawless again. Taken on well by Vasilakopoulos. Taken on even more by Paul Carr. And a little ankle tap sends him crashing to the turf, otherwise it might have been the try that Sheffield was searching for. It's not over yet. Aston in the line for Vasilakopoulos. Now Flynn, he's dropped it. What a shame. Heartbreaking stuff. Sheffield have won it back though. Pinckney. Pass inside was a good one. Kept alive. Taiwa. Right. Vasilakopoulos. Now Senior. Neither side able to hold on to the ball. Almost over. Aston selling the tricks, nobody buying. Lawless. Broadbent. Pinckney. Forced backwards, keeps it going. Flynn. Aston. Vasilakopoulos. Can't break the shackles. Carr, whose run set this position up. But again, fantastic tackling. Little dart kick, and did he get there? No. Jean-Marc Garcia did everything he could, stretched out the arms, but didn't find the ball.
Come on, Sheffield, let's hear it for the Eagles.
Well, that was a lot more promising from the Sheffield Eagles. They've started this second half very similarly to the way in which they started the second half against Perth. And John Keir will be very much heartened by this display. Only 2 points to show for it so far, which makes them 16 adrift, 4-20. Again, not the best play the ball, and has he lost it? Referee has intervened. Head and feet to Sheffield.
Rover K264 VOA, the 4.T-Go G739 HKW. Those are your vehicles if you're moving immediately.
Sheffield are making a change. Wayne Flynn is making his way off the field. And it looks like David Maiko has come on. Garcia. Taiwa. Aston in at dummy half. Inside to Vasilakopoulos. Good tackling this time by Troy Stone. He's lost it in the tackle, in fact. I didn't see how that ended up in the opposition hands, but referee saw no offence, and Hunter have it. But I repeat once again that handling is so difficult on a night like this. And both sides have been guilty of dropping the ball. A good run, though. That's play the ball out of the... Well, I was just about to say out of nightmares, but it's actually been given for interference, and the possession, of course, retained by Hunter. Interference at the play the ball is a very frustrating thing to give away, especially when it leads to a try. Now, was he held up on his back? He looked that way. Goldthorpe is claiming he got it down. He didn't. Held up on his back. Goldthorpe none too pleased.
Substitutions for the Mariners going off, number 15, Willie Poshing, and number 31, Anthony Brown. And coming on, number 16, Darian Doherty, and number 12, Paul Marquette.
He was held up on the line, but of course the head and feed goes back to Hunter. Well, there's an overlap on the left, and they're going to score. John Carlaw. A rather desperate cry of forward pass from the home fans, but no such pass took place, and John Carlaw extends the lead to 20 points once again. So Goldthorpe, who's missed the last two, a little bit nearer than the last two, but again it's a similar result as he's gone by the uprights.
And the try for the Mariners from number 5, John Carlin.
Well, Sheffield Eagles have been the dominant force in the second half, and Hunter Mariners come up with the first try. And that tells you everything you need to know about the standards set by the Australasian Super League. Time and time again, they punish the British teams for any error, any lapse, and even when they've been behind in terms of possession and territory, they've managed to find a way of coming up with a score when they most need it. And that was another example. Sheffield, no doubt, the better side in the second period, but they go even further behind. Well, John Keir, hand on heart, will say that any wins in the World Club Championship are a bonus. They already have one big bonus. Anything they can pick up from this will be out of the top draw.
Going off number 9, Johnny Lawless, and coming on number 27, Jason Erber.
Johnny Lawless has made way for Jason Erber, and the first thing he'll have to do is defend as Hunter have the head and feet from the scrum. They've lost it. Well, they appear to. The referee agrees with me. A knock on. Sheffield head and feet. It looks as though the rain stopped. I suppose we can thank heavens for small mercies at least. It's an awful grey picture, but it does appear that the rain, mercifully, for the first time in probably 12 hours, has stopped. Is that the sign for Sheffield? A change in the weather, maybe a change in the fortunes. They have another penalty. Interference on Mark Aston. In fact, it was a swinging arm. Not just interference, but interference of the lowest caliber, a swinging arm. Ricky Wright taking it up. Aston into Broadbent. Broadbent pumping the legs, trying to add extra meters. Senior. Taiwa just held on, looked as though it was slipping out of his grasp. Vasilakopoulos. Carr. Again, excellent tackling. They're up so quickly, are the Hunter Mariners players. That kick's not come off, and could be a run-in all the way for Noel Goldthorpe. Just held up, and Hunter lose possession. Well, Goldthorpe went for gold, and he didn't get it. Great tackling back as Goldthorpe saw the line, but was denied it. I think it was Broadbent, of all men, who hurtled back almost half the length of the field to make the tackle. Again, Hunter a little bit slow to get off the man as he attempted to get to his feet. Lovely little darting run there by Erber. Fresh legs, of course. Aston. Oh, that's not quite the calibre of kick that he was coming up with in the first half, and he was the first to acknowledge the error. Stone. Textbook tackle by Jason Erber. Goldthorpe, lovely pass. A terrific run. Kimorley with a superb try. He really has impressed in the first half, and he's followed up in the second. Brilliant stuff from Kimorley. It was a brilliant individual run from Kevin Iro in the first half that set things underway. Kimorley had a brilliant part in the second try. Willie Poaching, of course, had an individual piece of genius for a try late on. And on this occasion, Brett Kimorley has continued in the same vein. They've been impressive, Hunter Mariners. Oh, he's made, apart from the kicking. And Noel Goldthorpe has dragged it wide. Well, Sheffield are going to have to go some now to pull off another incredible turnaround.
Try for the Mariners from number 20, Brett Kimorley.
They have 20 minutes. And nothing to lose, I suppose. Broadbent. Might as well throw caution to the wind now. No other side in Pool B has a victory apart from them.
Down.
McCormack in the line, handing it on to Paul Marquet. Kimorley, he has been impressive for Hunter. The latest in the conveyor belt of young talent coming into the game in Australia. Brett Kimorley has been impressive. Troy Stone. Tony Iro. Robbie Ross has handed it on to Mark Aston. I wonder if Aston gave him a little half call there. Linton Stott. Not made too much in the way of metres gained here in this set of 6. And the referee has seen something he didn't like there. Perhaps another high one. It'll be a Sheffield penalty. Yes, it was. Well, it's not the first time that Hunter have found a high shot and been penalised for it. And maybe the referee's going to run out of patience and maybe sin bin. Or perhaps worse. He'd issued another warning there. This one to Noel Goldthorpe as captain of the Hunter Mariners side. Maiko. Nowhere to go. Broadbent. All wrapped up by Troy Stone. Ricky Wright. Last tackle. What's Aston going to conjure up? Goes for the high one. It's a teaser. Mark Garcia couldn't quite gather it in. And credit to the Hunter Mariners defence, Craig Wise did. Taken on by Beecham. McCormack directing proceedings, offering Tony Iro the opportunity to go forward. All wrapped up though by Maiko. Went through the legs of McCormack, ended in the arms of Kevin Iro, and that ball was lost. But it was a penalty. Tried to refit away, and it was at least 3 in attendance, never mind one-on-one. And Russell Smith had no alternative. McCormack, well gathered by Broadbent. Goldthorpe. Here's that man Kimorley. Tries a reverse pass into Kevin Iro. Iro helping it along. Troy Stone just about held up. Inside the red zone now, Hunter Mariners. McCormack darting himself from dummy half. Held by 3 Sheffield players. Goldthorpe, little grubber, and it was out just behind the in-goal area. Now, did a Sheffield man get the touch? I think he did, and it'll be a dropout. And if all converted, that's just to tie up the game. But there's still hope, I suppose, and the Sheffield players will give their all. McCormack, Stone. McCormack again. Carr tried to force the pass away, but it was a knock-on. The referee waves play on, wipes the tackle count clean, of course. And Kimorley almost prizes his way through to the line again. 3 or 4 metres out. And Sheffield will have to be on their guard, or they'll drift even further behind. Kimorley, lovely pass. And the man on the burst is awarded the try. And Sheffield are 32 points to 4 down. A change of kicker. Is it going to be a change of luck? Yes, it is.
The try for the Mariners from number 1, Robbie Ross.
So Robbie Ross it was who got on the end of Kimorley's pass to add his second of the contest and extend the lead to a rather awesome 34-4. And it's going to get worse, you feel, if they spill ball in their own territory like that. Keith Senior, the guilty man, and Hunter are going for the jugular. And Sheffield are learning a hard lesson. Goldthorpe again, kept alive. Kevin Iro, 2 metres short. Robbie Ross again in the line, looking for more. Lost the ball. Linton Stott. Good run by the fullback. Taiwa. A brighter attempt at breaking the Hunter shackles. Something to liven up the crowd on a damp and grey evening. No way through for Broadbent. Look how quickly Hunter are up. They are so good in defence. They hardly give you a moment's breath and they're on you. Vasilikopoulos doing his utmost. It's the last. Aston going towards the corner and finding touch.
Then substitution for the Eagles, number 8 Paul Broadbent coming off, and going on number 20 Steve Edman.
Beecham driving his way forward. Piccinelli.
Remember the Man of the Match award presented pitchside at the end of the game.
Carlaw. Goldthorpe. Kevin Iro. Highest order. Each man is as hungry as if it was 0-0 and they're 30 points ahead. So many lessons to be learnt for the European game, and John Keir, I'm sure, will have learnt plenty. A real student of the game, John Keir, the Sheffield coach, and he will watch these videos back and take out the positives from a Sheffield point of view, and also the examples set by the opposition, and try and incorporate it into the European game. I'm sure that the European sides will be better for this experience. It may not seem so, having been trounced on several occasions, but they'll have learnt so much about the levels they have to achieve and how to go about achieving them. And I'm sure John Keir will sit in the video room with his men and point to so many of the special qualities this evening of the Hunter Mariners, and even of the Perth Western Reds in defeat last weekend. And here they go again. This time Craig Wise trying to force his way through. Troy Stone, such strength in depth. Troy Stone was the captain in the Hunter Mariners side in their first match, and he's only on the bench this time. Kimorley at dummy half. Here's Goldthorpe, the skipper. That's almost gone backwards, but it's a teaser, and it's been spilled. And it'll be Hunter Mariners' possession. Here's Stone again. Lovely pass. Ross able to gather it. Kimorley. Now that was lost. That'll be a knock-on. And Sheffield Eagles will get possession.
Tonight's VP award chosen by David Arthurs goes to number 7, Mark Aston. And don't forget, pitchside autographs and the Man of the Match award presented at the end of the game.
So Mark Aston,
and remember, the European
puts it in.
the leaders, the Eagles.
Pinckney, not been his night tonight. The former Keighley Cougar. Edmed, he's done his best. Worked like a Trojan. He's been spelled a few times during the game though, and has come on to replace Broadbent, who himself has done some tireless work in the name of the Eagles' cause. Here's Vasilakopoulos, who too is impressed at loose forward. Maybe he'll get a start next week as we go back to domestic duty. St Helens are the next opponents at the Don Valley. I believe it's Wigan next up for Eagles on their travels, and you couldn't have two bigger tests than that to see what you've learned from your World Club Championship experience. Not backwards, says the referee. Kimorley. Stone. Points difference, of course, is such a vital aspect, particularly for the Australian sides, and that, more than anything, will be the reason why the Hunter Mariners are still battling away. That was stolen in a two-man tackle, and it'll be a penalty to Hunter. Tony Iro picking himself up gingerly, looking at his ankle. Hunter Mariners will want to extend this 30-point cushion by at least 6 more if they can, and they have about 5 minutes or thereabouts in which to do so. And they have the ball deep in Sheffield territory. Again, the referee happy that that ball was knocked backwards, and it'll be play on. Little darting run by Piccinelli, and he got himself an extra 7 or 8 metres as a result. Brad Godden feeding Tony Bran, who's back on again. Kimorley, lovely pass. Robbie Ross, brilliant try. A hat-trick for the fullback. A superb pass again from Kimorley. And I can't imagine that there are any better players in the game, in the Australian game, than young Brett Kimorley, and I think it's only his 4th or 5th start, and that says so much about their standards. A brilliant pass from Kimorley, finished off by Ross.
Try for the Mariners from number 1, Robbie Ross.
So Piccinelli has taken over the kicking duties from Noel Goldthorpe, and he's 1 out of 1. 1 or 2 of the Sheffield Eagles fans beginning to make their way to the exits, but they'll remember the World Club Championship home games with great fondness. A rousing victory against Perth.
13, Neil Piccinelli.
And Piccinelli adds the extras, and it's 40 points to 4. 10 times as many points, and to be truthful, on the night, perhaps several times better in the final reckoning. Sheffield started so brightly in both the first half and in particular the second, and in the end they've been punished by what has to be said were the better side, and the likes of Brett Kimorley I'm sure we'll be hearing plenty of in the future. Looks a real start. Sheffield Eagles have been very gallant tonight, it has to be said. They've played their hearts out, but have come up against a better side, and when you're beaten by the better side you have to hold up your hands and accept it. So Noel Goldthorpe with a head and feed for Hunter. Still looking for more. Couple of minutes maybe in which to find another try. Robbie Ross again trying to help himself into the line, but that's picked up by Pinkney. One last effort. Well, they're penalised anyway for interference at the play of the ball. Sheffield looking for a consolation. Hadn't scored a try this evening, remember. And they're not going to either. Well, all credit to Hunter, they're still playing on the last tackle, of course. They're perfectly entitled to continue with the last play after the hooter, and they're still keeping it alive. My goodness, look at this, they're doing their utmost, aren't they? But it's not to be. And that's it. It ends at 40 points to 4. Sheffield Eagles never really in the contest, started the second half brightly, never found a way through, never scored a try, and will have to doff their caps to the visitors and say that they were second best.